telling me how to do things. So you're trying to write an email. Go away, paperclip. I'm still traumatized from the paperclip. Hi, this is the Art of Rock. This is Carl yelling at people. First and foremost, I'd like to acknowledge the Tonga people as being the traditional landowners of Hollywood, California. That's where I am, in fact, Los Angeles. This is the Art of Rock. We talk about production, overcoming writer's block. It's basically therapy. Oh no, have we lost Alex? And I think it's pretty damn good. Join us every Saturday, most Saturdays, here at 9 a.m. on Angelspit's Twitch. Go join the damn Twitch or Angelspit's YouTube. Go follow the damn YouTube. I'm such a horrible guy. This is made possible with Angelspit's Patreon members. I can't thank you enough for putting up with my endless rubbish. What do you mean you can't post to channels? What is your problem?
What?
I'm yelling at my computer, Brett.
What else is new, Carl?
I've also started the Angelspit Bandcamp subscription thing, which is basically the same as Patreon. Just because some people go, I hate Patreon and I hate Apple and I don't want anything to do with them. So there's that. Oh my God. Ice Planet's new bloody album is out now. I'm very happy with it. I'm actually working on the new one. Which I'm very happy. I'm working on the new Angelspit, which is being uploaded to that's getting launched on the Patreon and the Bandcamp subscription. The second song, or it's the third song, I've lost count, goes live today.
Oh
30
wow.
days has it, or tomorrow, I can't remember. I'm really happy with how this album's sounding.
Hell yeah.
On every Wednesday night, we are hanging out with Vulture Culture talking about synthesizers. I'm wearing a t-shirt. And you can buy this t-shirt. We got to keep Alex going. It's a great community. We just talk about synths and it's bloody excellent. Something else that's excellent is MTV TV. D, good to see you, face. I got that wrong. Yeah, MTV TV, they're amazing. Go love them. Go give them love. Go watch them. We got to keep these guys going. You have no idea how important it is to keep them going. Raziel will be joining us at some point, who is co-hosting, which means looking after it when I bloody disappeared to deal with Frank. Brett's here. Say hi, Brett.
Hi, Brett.
Ivan. Ivan's here.
Hey,
Say
hey.
hi, Ivan. Alex is here. I don't. So now I've clicked on something. I don't know what it is. Something now. There's a window coming up. Ooh, I didn't ask for this technology. I want to eat Brontosaurus in my cave. That's what I want with my Moog. Now, so welcome to the Art of Rock. My God, how long did that take? I haven't had enough coffee. G'day, Adam. Here's what's going on. So I had a very interesting. Hello, Alex. Good to see you, friends. I had a great experience this week where I I was talking with a couple I was working with a couple, and one of the couple is Gen X, one is millennial. I don't like using those terms. I think they're dumb. But it was very interesting that in this creative situation, how the two Gen X punk bastards, myself and other Gen X punk bastard, had a certain drive, had a do or die drive mentality. And the person, and for God's sake, I'm not trying to make this a war of the ages, but it was really interesting how the person who was the millennial was not quite like that. They were a lot, they weren't as driven. And it's interesting that there are exceptions to this rule, of course. It was really fascinating how we came to the conclusion that we were like this because we came to a period where you had, in the creativity of making music, there's a dude, a record label person sitting over your shoulder demanding your product, demanding a single, demanding an album, demanding a tour, constant demanding of what's going on to fit within the production framework of this industry. Now, I know a lot of that's irrelevant,
Mm.
and yet a lot of it is so very relevant. Um, I guess I'm wanting to open the floor to this really fascinating conversation because um, it, it ultimately it is about the culture of creating, the
Mhm.
culture of making. And I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. And remember, the objective of the exercise is to encourage people to make their art. So I throw the floor open. I'd love to hear from you guys. What do you think?
All right. I think there's something to it. Um, you know, and it might be generational, but it's definitely cultural. Um, and I think, unfortunately, I didn't have the experience of having a record exec pushing me. So I ended up getting pushed other ways. So growing up, most of this stuff didn't exist, or if it did, it was very hard to get to and very expensive. And so um, the drive really became about a combination of what you do to pass the time and also uh, what you do to not be home. Because I know it sounds weird, but if you're home, then you're getting assigned tasks you don't want to do. So you better have a plan. And day in and day out, you better have a plan, or someone's going to have a plan for you. I think really shapes you.
Okay, that's great. Um, does anybody else have any thoughts on this?
Yeah,
Come on,
I am I am absolutely certain that having a plan was probably a bigger part of the equation than we often give it credit for. Because like, yeah, if you didn't have a plan, one would be provided and it would suck. Which, was definitely helped shape, our mindsets. Um, and the other thing that we had, or one of the other things that was going on quite frequently back then was um, finding mentorship was a easier thing back when we were, figuring this stuff out. And it seems like, while everybody's getting hyper isolated in their own little corners of the universe, one of the things that we have given up on is that mentorship. And so we're not teaching the next, you know, generation to have, that drive. Like we've given up on you look bored, here's a task, you know, because we knew that it sucked. At the same time, like that suckiness kind of needed to be there to help give us a reason to become something. And I think that lacking that has not done favors. And so many other things have gotten kind of too easy. Um, a couple of years ago, I was at uh, a big internet company, and I was heading a fairly big project, and one of the juniors under me, like he didn't seem like he was that much younger, but apparently was. Um, we were doing really difficult things with Hadoop on the build side, where the decisions you make will impact, speed. And when I would run into a problem, my Google search to find an answer for it was, really long. And this was back in the days when with Google you could plus and minus and quote your way to really specific answers. Um, his way of Google searching something, to my dismay, was to put one word in and hope for the best. And if it didn't appear on the first page, it just wasn't a solvable problem. Um, and it took me a while to encourage him to expand his search skills, but I'd like to think that that did him favors later. Um, because being able to do that was important. To the point where, like, I started thinking, hey, maybe during job interviews, one of the things that you do is just put a search bar in front of them, tell them what your problem is, and then see how they find the answer. Because like you need to be willing to do a certain amount of exploration to find that. And unfortunately, yet again, being willing to do the exploration to find that, like, that is a skill that gets mentored into somebody more than them just being born with it or generationed into it, or most certainly finding out about that at school. Like, but it is a thing that is important.
Totally. Thank you very much, man. Alex, what are your thoughts?
I hope my outdoors isn't too loud. To be honest, I always have a plan, but I never follow them because life gets in the way, or something else happens, or my expectation didn't match up with reality. What worked best for me is just to have a general direction and square my way towards it. Because if I think too much about what I'm going to do, I'm not going to do it. But that's just me.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you. Bro, what's your brain doing?
Playing a little bit off of playing a little bit off. Yeah. Anyway, um, when we had to get, we had to drive to a library. We had to read that thing, and sometimes they had a photocopier that worked. Often you had to take notes. So you brought all the materials you needed so that you go somewhere, do the research on the thing you want to do, and then you took the useful bits of that back to wherever you were at and tried to make some of that happen. It's a very slow process, and it teaches you how to manage projects over a really long time versus that instant gratification. And for us, it's pretty rare that we're whipping out completed songs in a single day. So there is that, okay, I formulate a thought, I want to go here, and then here are the tools that I have to accomplish said thing. And then that whole thing is driven into us into a really long process where we end up chipping away at it until we have the thing we want. And it's not just music, you kind of have to remember all of life worked like that for Exgen. It's you got in trouble with some job. There was no, I'm just going to call somebody and they'll be here. You didn't have a cell phone. So it, it hardens you in a way. It also gives you a lot of tools that you don't get without putting in the time. I think that's probably the best way I can put it.
This is really interesting to me. Because firstly, I go, well, I want to be a mentor. I want to be a leader. I want to help people create their music and art. Secondly, I go, well, there is a new way of thinking and creating, and I want to be part of that and I want to see it. I'm lucky through some of the work that I do outside of Angelspit and Ice Planet 9000, working with theater and stuff like that, that I see some amazing quality musicians of all different ages. Incidentally, I saw one the other night, which was possibly the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. It was an Islamic group from all over the world, and it sounded like Peter Gabriel's Passion Saucers being played live. And it was so amazing. Anyway, um, I think that, and the thing that strikes me every time that I see a world-class musician take the stage and nail their bass guitar part or their whatever part like a supreme fucking motherfucker is that they have tenacity, they have practice, they have dedication, they have drive. They don't think about success, it's about the failures, because in the failures you're going to learn. And it doesn't matter if you succeed or fail, you're still getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning and doing push-ups on your knuckles. You're still doing your scales. You are still doing all of those things. And when I work with people of, is it because, like you said, Brett, and Ivan, once upon a time, you had to go to a library and the photocopier didn't work. And I've got my library card. I went to the library the other day. I just walked in there and I just went, fuck, it's so much easier now. Like, going to a library is like going to a museum. Go to a library. Just go to a fucking library and go, either I'm going to ask fucking Google about this thing or I'm going to go to a library. Set yourself a task. Go to the library to find it out. And you will go, my God, my fucking God. It's so hard. It is so much fucking around. It took hours and hours, sometimes days, to find what happens within seconds of a keystroke these days. And, has that changed the tenacity and the thirst and the hunger? Like, I walked into the library and I went, nah, fuck this. I like literally, I walked in and I went, fuck this. And I turned to my left and they had a whole bunch of VHS and DVDs. This is in Hollywood. And I went over, had a look. And they were alphabetical and they weren't in genre. They weren't, I went, where's the sci-fi? And they didn't have sci-fi. And I went, oh, fuck this. And then I walked out again and I just thought, wow, what's happened to me? Like, and that reminded me of how we were talking about the importance of hardware, hardware synths, is that you don't just throw the fucking sample on the timeline or type in, I want to sound like a Moog fucking bloody Stevie Wonder bass line or whatever. You have to fucking do it. And it might not work, and you're going to be sitting there there's not the complete Depeche Mode sound files or here's all the Gary Newman sounds that are instantly dropped onto your fucking memory Moog plugin. It's you have to fuck around. And in that is tenacity. Notice how I'm yelling now? In that is the tenacity. And I think that I'm losing that, because even, by the way, we're coming into next Saturday is the 20th anniversary of Crunk House being released. Fuck, I haven't done anything. I'm not organizing a party. Maybe I should. And I was thinking, even then, if you wanted to find something out, you had to go to a library, because Google and Yahoo were nowhere near where they are now. So, it's crazy to think how the music that you consider to be, yeah, I love that album, I remember that album, whatever it's Front 242, whatever, is that this was all from a time that was a completely different mindset where, and I was watching this thing today about the destruction of scenes and how life, habitat destruction and rentals and blah, and I don't want to talk about it, rent, has basically destroyed scenes, and how the importance of failing in private for so many years was really important, where the band's kicking around, it's playing in a couple of pubs and you suck. But 5 gigs later, you don't suck as much. 5 gigs after that, you sound pretty good. 5 gigs after that, you're starting to rock. People don't have a camera in your face, and you're not getting the metric and the dislikes and the hate speech because you suck. You get to suck in private at the beginning of the night, at the opening set, where no one else is turning up, and it's just you, your girlfriends and boyfriends, and the other band, and no one gives a fuck. But afterwards, they'll say, hey, you suck, but you should try this. Hey, well, look, magic instant mentorship. They're right in front of you, and afterwards, the old bastards are going to tell you what to do. It's not like that anymore. You're obligated to put your demos and everything online and blah, 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 and now it's fucking instant. And just like how we don't go to the library, just like how we don't work our balls off so we can get a fucking analog synth, we just use the free fucking plugin and we just type in sound like Kraftwerk. Oh, look, Kraftwerk basses. Because we have shortchanged and skipped through all of those critically important things, what is lacking? What is lost? Like I said to this this artist who was having trouble writing lyrics, and it's like, fuck, I have everyone I know has trouble writing lyrics. Go to a cafe. If you can print the lyrics out, print them out or put them on your phone. Take a pen and paper. Go to a cafe. So somewhere nice. Treat yourself. And also, I need to fucking do this because I don't enough. Go to every album I used to do, every song, there would be a period in the song where it's, I'm going to buy myself a fucking coffee now in a cafe and I'm going to sit there for an hour or two kicking these fucking lyrics out. I have no distractions. I am going to do this. I haven't done that in a while and I'm going to fucking do that this week. And you're somewhere else and you're away from your phone, so you're not looking at your dumb fucking shit and you're focusing on your goddamn fucking lyrics and you're going, this really fucking sucks, but at least I've got my coffee. Go. And I shouldn't really say it's, the more I think about this, the more I realize that it's been a shift that has affected everyone. And unfortunately, the fucker about that shift is that, yeah, that we are trying to hold on to something that was training for us. It was boot camp for us. And other people have seen movies and hear us talking about the boot camp, and it sounds so nostalgic and so cool. Let me tell you, it wasn't. Push-ups on your knuckles at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's what this is about. Brett, go.
So as I've mentioned before, I've been kind of trying to build my own synthesizer, using Amy Board and using Tula. Well, it plays exactly to what you're saying there. I have no idea at this state. Well, I have more idea now than I did when I started this project. I had no idea what I was going to get out of this. It's literally a roll of dice. These boards are entry level enough for me to fuck around and find out. And if it fails, all right, I'm out a bunch of time. I'm out, under $100. So, all right, let's go. Since then, shit, man, like the last month, I really haven't gotten much done musically, but I have all day, every day, spent at least 6 hours tweaking and coding these things to get a product that is reliable enough for me to use. I'm really close on the Amy board, by the way. The Tulip's got a way to go still. It is, however, something antithesis to the notion of, even though these are synthesizers and whatnot that have existed before, like the J06, the X7, these platforms are out there. What I'm trying to do is use them in a unique way. And with that comes a whole freaking problem. It's like being kicked out of the house, when you're a kid. Now you're wandering around and you're trying to find your friends in the neighborhood, and somebody's off to summer camp or whatever the hell, is happening. And it's fuck around and figure it out, and there is, if you don't have the mindset to drive through that, then yeah, you're I think you missed something. I think you fail to find really creative solutions. You have to make mistakes. It has to sound like shit for a long time before you get somewhere you and everybody else would like, or potentially like. And so I don't know. I guess that's kind of where these two avenues meet. You know, it's not exactly like I can go to the library and be like, well, great, give me all the files for this, and I'll just spin it up and be done. No, there's a Git repository out there. That's about it. Assemble it. What they did is say, great, you know, these are the components that, you know, are built into the board. Now figure out how you want to control the board. This mirrors so much of what I did early on. You know, it's like I had the Casio. Well, the Casio can't do everything I need it to do. So how do you make it do it? How do you get a sound source to be something you ultimately want? Is really where it came down to. And you got to remember, before that, it was drums, which was even harder to make it, you know, melodic. Yeah, I can tune the toms, but there's three of them. You know, that's three notes. And then you keep keeping your bass and your snare for rhythm. There's a lot more to figuring out, you know, music and your art, whatever that be. And if you don't have that drive, if you don't have a drive, maybe not, you know, maybe not a comparable drive to someone who's doing it professionally or whatever, and the pressure's on them to, you know, pay the bills. Then I think you just kind of, I think you probably end up in that realm of, in the hacker world, we call them script kiddies. The people who grab these tools, do what they want to do, and they don't learn anything about the mechanism that is accomplishing the task. But that's where all the fun stuff is. That's where the unique stuff is. That's the blending of paints. That's the blending of sounds, the blending of whatever, and making something that either you haven't seen before, heard before, or you think someone else hasn't seen or heard before, and that makes it unique or interesting. Yeah, that's a rant.
It's all about when they say we're going to take the effort out of it and we're going to do the thinking for you, or a lot of the mundane thinking. And it's funny how part of that is like, yeah, oh my God, that is so welcome. And the other part of that is like, no, you need to, that's really important. Isn't it funny how today's, you know, this is about, you know, getting back into that hardship. Maybe that's why we're also having this epidemic of loneliness, is because meeting a person is a swipe left or a right on an app, or no swipes at all. Anyway, there you go. So the objective of the exercise is to get you making your fucking music. Somebody said this a while ago about sharpening knives. Was it Alex or Brett? Yeah, it was you, Brett. Thanks. The importance of just, if you don't feel like making music, sharpen the knives. Go through the studio, make sure the cables are working, update firmware, all that shit. Sharpen the fucking knives. And you should just get a piece of paper, scroll that on it, and stick it on the fucking wall. Bored? Question mark. Sharpen knives. Also find out there's a time where you get bored, which is usually, you know, 7 o'clock at night. And either you're going to go to bed and scroll, or you could stay up for 2 hours. And I've forced myself, that for me is my dead spot, 7 o'clock till 9 o'clock. And then I'm out like a light because I go to bed early, because I get up early because I'm doing push-ups on my fucking knuckles. But from 7 to 9, if I sit down and comp vocals or do the beginning work for production or whatever, or build sounds for something that I think's going on, or go through the modular and resolder if I have to, you sleep better because you go, man, I made a good fucking decision. I did something good. You sleep better.
It's kind of
Does
about
any
burning out that energy, right? You know,
Yeah.
when it comes right down to it, you know, I don't have a downtime, but that's because I'm very, very ADD. And I wake up. It takes me a minute to come online. Once I'm going, though, it just keeps going until I crash, and then I just fall asleep right in my chair, and it's time to go to bed.
Yeah. Um, I'm doing, yeah, I may have told you guys I'm doing these really basic stretches in the morning. And it's because we're all very young guys. And it's really helping. And another thing I'm doing is sort of like these, I guess you could call them affirmations, or getting my brain to think positively, focused on problem solving, on intellect, and on healing. And they are having an amazing, really, really good effect on my brain. Um, we could keep talking about this, or was there anything else anybody wants to, do you want to bring up something?
I guess just to kind of touch on what you were saying there, my approach is more balance. You know, when I get skewed too, it's not good if I'm on either skew, negative or positive too much. It either leads to laziness or paralysis. The
Yeah.
sweet spot is some sort of discomfort in the middle, I think, for me.
Yeah. It's about training your fucking brain when everything else is trying to train your brain too. And your brain is trying to train your brain as well. It's crazy. Um, okay, what else? What's going on? Let's get fucking sexy here. Who's making music? What's going on?
And tell me more about the
The
roller
gig?
derby stuff and the gigs and shit.
Hold on, I'm sorry, I cut you off.
Yeah, tell me more about the roller derby and the gigs and such.
Okay, well the gig, I'm doing so the last 2 weeks I've been at the theater doing a bunch of shows because there's all this stuff going on. And I did a show there the other night and they were fucking 30 piece easily. Traditional, they were from Persia and they were from all over the world, but they were Persian. And it was beautiful. I was crying in the rehearsals and in the show. And it was just it was a rendition of this 12th century poem. Because there were some crazy, real heightened, enlightened things going on in that region in that time. Really beautiful things. And it was this poem, and it was about the path to enlightenment and the hardships of it. Um and the singing was just stunning. They had six male, six female, and all of this. Just so a lot of them were from England, some were from Canada, some were from the US, but they all came together. And they had this dance troupe who were amazing. And they were doing traditional dances. So in Turkish culture, how it's the men that spin. They do that dance where they spin and it goes into meditation. In the I believe in the Persian culture, the women spin as well. And they were just, I didn't really want to, and they had this beautiful rug on the floor that had like the Islamic tree of life on it. And I didn't want to, it's really weird that the crew went, we're not walking on the rug. Because out of respect, we're not going to walk. And there were certain areas of the stage where we kind of agreed we don't want to go there because these are kind of, it's becoming this holy space and we don't want, running troops in their crew techs in their Doc Martens stomping all over it. They were the most beautiful people I think I've ever worked with. They were some of the best musicians. Um, they were humble, they were beautiful, they weren't selling merch. And that for me, that was okay, you guys are serious about this. They packed the theater. Um, and it was a really beautiful, holy experience. And as I mentioned, they had a lot of the instrumentation that like the Ney flute, uh, which is this bamboo flute. And it's just the most Ney, and it was what Gabriel. Everyone's googling it. It was on Gabriel used it on the Passion, a Temptation of Christ, and another instrument called I don't remember what it was called. Um, but it was, and these things called duff, which are the big drum, the hand drum, and they've got chains dangling on them. and they're really tricky to play. And this flute's insanely hard to play, and this guy was killing it. And they had these three Duff players, and they were just absolutely unified. And the thing about when you watch them, it's a really visual drum to play because they're moving it. Dung, dung, shing, gung, gung. And because it's got the rattles on it, they could do this stuff where they could, if they were going to hit the one, they could shung. They could pull it backwards so the rattles, the chain parts would fall across the membrane of the drum, and then they'd hit the one. Oh, it was great. It was great. And it was just amazing. Yeah, but I'm also doing some roller derby bands. The Nay, there it is. Thank you, Brett. There's some roller derby bands at the roller derby that I'm doing. There's some metal bands in a couple of weeks that I'm excited about. Man, I really need to punch my computer. And it's really fascinating how this warehouse space for the Angel City Rollers is becoming a habitat. A habitat that's available for other subcultures, which is a dying word, kids, to come and celebrate music and be together. Yeah, good stuff. Adapt, it's good to see you. Yeah, so that's what's going on. Also, the new Angelspit stuff, which is really fun. Really, it's great because I'm trying to do a different process. The funny thing about you do processes because you learn that there's a thing you do with your bass. Like I did this song recently, and I think it's either going on to the Kickstarter this month or the Patreon this month or next month. And I thought I'm going to do something different. And normally what I do is I have a sub bass, and then I have another bass on top of it, and then I have this screaming crazy thing on top of it. So if I need to, that sub bass is going to be sidechained to the kick, so the bottom end's all tight. Then that mid-low bass is going to be there acting like a regular bass. And then the crazy version of the bass, which is the higher harmonics bass, is a different bass. And that's being sidechained to the vocals. So everything is sitting there nice. Process. So I thought in this one I'd do something different, and I thought I'd just have angry fucking Mini Moog. Voyager, just being a bitch. Great big fat Voyager. And I did, but the problem was, hey, Adapt. The problem was the problem was is that it was just too much. Because this bass was so huge and it filled so many frequencies, it sounded great, but you listen to it on different speakers and you could hear the speakers breaking, and not in a good way either. And I listened back to it on my phone then, and it's like the phone isn't even hearing bass. It's not registered. So the kick's messy. It's all just mess. I don't want to do that. So I actually went back and added two different versions of the Moog bass, where one was just a single oscillator playing the sub, and then the other three oscillators were playing like an octave above that, which is what I normally do. And therefore everything was much cleaner and it made more sense. Oh my God, I'm sorry, that was really boring. But I guess I'm struggling with the constant to and fro of punk and new thought versus process, and realizing the process is there for a reason, and you can't break the mix. You just can't. And because if you break the mix, it's shit. And I don't want to do that anymore. Brett, what are your thoughts?
So obviously you know more about filters than I probably will ever, but I was just curious if that is a problem that can be solved with filters, for one. Maybe you can strip out certain frequencies so that speakers handle it better. And what does that? I don't know if you played with that at all, and I'm just curious.
Ask me that again.
So since you know more about filters and whatnot than I do, EQing and whatnot and all that stuff, I figured What if you took out the frequencies from that mix that were breaking the speakers, made it a little bit more palatable for the technology, I guess, not necessarily your ear, because your ear is going to definitely be able to smoke a speaker, but I don't know.
No, that's a really good idea. And that's also D, I saw your thing on dervishing. Hope I said that right. I'll circle back to that. I EQ'd the shit out of it. And that's my issue with really big sounds, is that you end up EQing the fuck out of them.
Yeah.
And like really hammering into it. And the point that I'm making with this one is, okay, so you've got this one sound, it's so gigantic, and you just EQ the shit out of it. Or you could pull it out into 3 different sounds. And this sound, the bass sound, could be snug in the bass. So it's
Yeah.
taken up some, there's no big crazy things or anything like that. It is predominantly this low thumpy thing that's kick sitting in there with the kick. It's supplying the bottom end. And the kick drum is cutting into that when it's sidechained into it. So instead of it sidechaining to everything, it's just that sub. Then
Mhm.
there's the kind of the middle bit, which is that fat bass sound. It has nothing down here.
Mhm.
Nothing. That's all being supplied by that solid mono sub bass. So now you've got this, you can start cutting into this guy a little bit. It's got a bit of high-end crazy going on.
Mhm.
And you might also sidechain the kick to this one, but not as much.
Okay.
Then you've got the third version, which is like the sort of the mid-high defining crazy bass sound. And that one you're shaving into pretty hard, and you're also sidechaining with the voice on that one because it's fighting with the vocals in the same frequency as the vocals. You're just going to say to it, when the vocals come in, it's going to pull the vocals the volume of that one back. Meanwhile, all the meat and potatoes are sitting down here solid, but it's this high one that's ever so slightly pushing itself back when the vocals are pushing through. Um, so yeah, in answer to the question, yes, EQing, but sometimes you got to separate them out.
Yeah. And I was thinking there too while you were saying that, because drums have that problem, especially acoustic ones. And one of the techniques for that is to go ahead and do the mix within the DAW, but then re-record from an external mic, such as like take a shotgun mic or something like that to it, and then pick it up from at distance,
That's
which
great.
approximates the human ear a little bit better.
That's great. I like that idea. Thank you.
Yeah.
I just want to fling back here. So yeah, I was asking so this dance, I think, um, dervishing, I'm probably saying it right, this wonderful hypnotic, meditative dance that they do where they spin around. And when the Turkish men do it, they actually have this very heavy garment they wear that helps them, using centrifuge, stay in the middle. The dancers the men were spinning slowly in this one, and the women were spinning quickly. And it was fascinating that they were doing it with their eyes shut on a stage going around this rug. And they were not bumping into each other. And I guess the thing about it is that if they felt their skirts hit, something was going on. But firstly, there's the holy wow, I mean literally the holy, the sacred side of this, which was great, amazing, incredible, spectacular. Oh my goodness. Then there's also the theatrical stagecraft show of it and the safety issue of it as well. And that was 10 out of 10. Oh, 10 out of 10. And that's what, because I always love watching magic shows from backstage where you go, it doesn't matter how they did it. You can tell how they did it. The fact is they did it, they pulled it off, and they did it with the show. And these guys were doing it with the show, although their hearts were absolutely in this. Oh, fantastic. Yeah, so that's my thoughts on frequencies and stuff. So that's the new Angelspit album as well, and I'm trying to do something different with processing the vocals and fucking around and involving getting other vocalists in and fucking around. So yeah, we'll see how that all goes. All right, what are we talking about? Anyone? Anyone?
Noise. How about
Oh,
noise?
well, hold on. Here's Alex. Talk to me, Alex.
I was talking to a friend and they ask if the name of Ice Planet 9000 is a reference to the Ice Nine in a what's it called, in a science fiction novel. I have to look it up how the novel is called. But
No.
okay.
It's actually my mate in Australia came up with it, and he just said, "Oh, I've got a cool band name, Ice Planet 9000." And I went, "Can I use that?" And he goes, "It's yours." And interestingly, that there is a whole bunch of different types of ice, and different ice that forms in different pressures, in different temperatures, at different speeds, in different radiations, etc. And one of the ideas that Ice Planet 9000 was pushing on is that perhaps these different, you can move between them, use them as some kind of a portal, that this piece of ice type 12 here is magically connected to this piece of ice 12 over in the Andromeda Galaxy, and you can move between them or something. But yeah, I don't know the book because I don't read. But if it's something written on a circuit board of a synth, or if it's in a synth manual, yes, I probably stole that.
I think I've written more synth manuals by word count than books by a fair amount.
I have synth manuals next to my bed. In fact, currently, the Emulator 4 manual. What else? I think I took the Moog Voyager manual out recently. But I do want to, oh, look at you, Brett, you're a nerd. I do like printing them out and just flicking through them. And I do have other manuals on my phone constantly. Actually, can we flip over to something random? Because it's us. So I was looking at, I think it's called the Cloudburst or the Starburst. It's a qubit new module. Or it's not really that new. Why did I say that? And because I really want a tape delay. And the more I'm looking into it, it's like, because I've got this various Malta thing by Noise Engineering. And I keep looking at these other modules, and it's like the Noise Engineering does all this shit. And if it doesn't, then I just download a different firmware into the into the module, and it'll do it then. But it's really interesting how I have discovered that I hate modules that have little bitty things that you have to push in digital world to call up blah 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 menus and do all. I don't give a fuck. Like, I just don't fucking care. It's like I had all this, I had some expert sleepers stuff, but I got rid of it because it's like, it's all in one. That's great, but I fucking hate it because I hate doing this shit. I fucking hate doing this shit. I just want to grab a knob and know what's going on because I don't have the fucking time. What the fuck is that? What are you sending me, Brett? No, it wasn't that one.
Not that one.
No, but it is that company that they've have got the Strymon. They've got the Magneto tape machine that I was looking at. And I just went no, because the Noise Engineering does it all. But the it's a qubit thing. Qubit cloud something. I don't remember. Star something. And it's interesting because you can also use it as a loop mangler. But I don't know. I just don't know. It's really funny. When I look at gear, I feel sick. Yeah, I feel ill. In my stomach, I feel ill. Yeah, yeah. Maybe I'm just so racked with guilt. I don't know why. Yeah. Isn't that weird? Cloudburst, is that qubit? Yeah, that's qubit. What's the thing? Anyway, so we're talking about, looks like we're talking about modular synthesizers. Does anybody want to talk about synthesizers? It's our favorite topic.
Like I said, I've got a project like that going, but Alex still has his hand up.
Alex, hit me.
What some people do if they have like tape decks with 3 tape heads, or like a tape head with like a free read and with separate things, is that they just use that as a tape delay and have like have it like a circuit bend to have the tape speed as a separate potentiometer. That's something that people do, but I think they are generally more expensive. But I think that's a way some people make tape delays for relatively cheap.
That's brilliant. I could just be a bloody and buy the frickin' there's a iPad tape delay I can get that's gonna cost me $7, and I've already got an interface for it, and I don't do it because I'm such an evil man, and I don't know why I'm so evil. The thing, if you care, is called Stardust. Thank you, Brett, for this link. And here is the thing to Qubit, who have got some fantastic stuff, and it's all very colorful. Oh, I can't tell you how much I hate computers today. There's Qubit, boom. Yeah, but it's, and I always kind of like, going, how do I really need this shit? Like, do I really need this shit? And increasingly the answer is no, I don't. And increasingly it's like, there's this thing I want to do. I really want this thing. And it's like, why? And I've got all this other stuff that does it. And someone somewhere wants this thing that I have. Like, I've got this piece of gear and I never use it. And somebody is fucking lusting over this thing. It's like, well, I should lust over it too. Another manual I have on my phone right now is the Chaos Pad 3, because it's sitting right there. And I don't use it enough. And when I do use it, there's only like 3 or 4 different presets I use. So I'm looking into all the other 100 and something presets that it has in it, because you can't program it. There's only presets. And looking at how radically I can fuck sound up using this thing. Yeah. Okay, that's me. Does anybody else? Huh?
I found that, like with the synthesizers and such like that, what I typically find myself doing is make a whole bunch of brand new sounds, right? And then for the next year or two, I probably use 3 of them. But that's for every device. I don't know if it's for something.
Hold on, can you repeat that? You were breaking up.
Oh yeah, I was saying I don't know where I broke up, but either way, one of the things I was saying is that I end up using like maybe 3 sounds on every synthesizer over and over and over and over and over again. And I think I think maybe it has to do with, you end up like needing a bass guitar, or you end up needing an electric guitar, and then your brain says, okay, if I go to this electric guitar, it's going to sound like this, right? And in kind of pattern match. And then you get outside of that, it's like, okay, well, now I have to go through the entire sound selection process again on everything. And so there's kind of a negative feedback of sorts. Yeah, that's where I'm kind of thinking, I think that's part of gear acquisition syndrome. I think that's all part of synthesis as well. I look at like, Vulture Culture, and he's got an affinity there for a variety of but it serves the example well in how he uses them, even though he's extremely proficient at programming. We kind of gravitate towards sounds that I think represent us, and then maybe just hang on to them a little bit too tightly, or I don't know. A little bit of a rant there.
And that was a good rant. A problem I have, and I'd love to hear everybody's thoughts on this, is that I constantly build the same fucking type of sounds. Like when you listen to sounds I make, it's go, yeah, they're Carl sounds. And I am trying desperately to get out of that. And that's why I am getting into more presets. Like I actually bought a preset bank for the steam pipe. And because I had to get out of fucking the constant thing that I do. Here's a synth. It does everything. Any sound you want. Oh, I want it to sound like a fucking Moog from 1978. It's like I have to get out of that. Guys, talk to me. Talk to me about
I
your
like
sound design.
loops for that to get me out of that.
Yeah,
And
yeah, okay.
I didn't think I liked loops a whole lot until FL Studio really dropped. Here's a constantly refreshing supply that so long as you've paid, you can use free at will. And there's no recording issues or any of that mess. It's all just, here's a new tool in your toolkit. But I tend to otherwise explore and integrate them into my sound. I will go to like drill and drum and bass, and some classical. A lot of cinematic effects I find I've started using out of that. Just because they're not in my inventory. Maybe that's helpful.
Thank you. You are cutting in and out. Is it anybody else who's getting that? It might be just me because I'm having a rotten hardware day. Okay.
That is cutting in and out.
Okay, but I got the gist. Thank you. Can I throw this to Alex? I see Alex's hand up. And then Ivan, do you want me to throw it to you next? All righty. Alex, talk to me.
Sorry, I lost my mouse. Maybe I just go after Ivan. My question would be, how do you recognize a good preamp? But and how much preamp is enough? But maybe that's the topic for later.
That's a great topic for later. Let's put a pin in that one. Ivan, talk to me.
So earlier this week, I spent an entire day just playing with the Quadrant Swarm, which is it's all Eurorack, like I was fully immersed in Eurorack for a day. And once the Swarm is close to dialed in, there's nothing better than just running record and playing with the Swarm and trying like filter sweeps and just messing with it to see what it does. And it it did great stuff. I'm happy. Also, I wouldn't completely discount expert sleepers. I mean, the ES9 is a great module, especially if you need to get a lot of like inputs and outputs to and from the computer. It's good at it. Um, yeah, I'm working on my latest experiment with letting AI act as a collaborator, not freaking using Sora and letting it just write me a song. It is a decent collaborator. It's not great. Like it will make recommendations, and those recommendations will work only after I have tweaked them. Because like it kind of comes up with middling ideas that can be advanced to good ideas. Um, but wow, like my Eurorack time this, what was it on Thursday? Was, high value. I enjoyed every damn minute of it. And, a big part of it is just, plugging LFOs into things or, saying, hey, should I try this? Look at that. It kind of worked well enough. Because I was shooting for a good drone and the Quandered Swarm is really good at making a good drone. It's good at making a bad drone. It's good at making a nonsensical drone. Yeah, it's kind of good at all of the in-betweens on that. Um, yeah, but the more I use that module, the happier I am. Oh, and how do you find a good preamp? Like earlier on, I had taken some bad advice, and I had spent way too much effort shooting for minus 23 loofs on my output, on like on the mastered version of things. And as it turns out, minus 23 was really not a good idea. So I'm doing better now, and I'm running things up to minus 6. Find my zoom there.
Okay. That's really interesting. Thank you. Thank you for both of that. A preamp. Uh, um, is this a preamp going into your door or a preamp going into your bass head or what's going on?
So for me, a local electronics store had this audio interface that I knew was selling 10 years ago for like 500 euros. And since I wanted to have a separate audio interface for my iPad, I was kind of tempted and I took it. I haven't tried it out yet because I'm in the middle of things, but they claim that they use the same preamps they use in much more expensive rack units, but only the solid state kind of path. And ever since going into music, audio stuff, I've been wondering how much of a difference a preamp actually makes and how to recognize a good one. So how much different does the one in my little Behringer desk sound from the ones that are in rack units, and if you have any experience with that?
Okay, I don't have a lot of experience with it. As far as like a preamp goes, is in something that's just going to bring like an instrument up to a line level. Most of the ones that are built in are fine. I personally like cleaner stuff. I don't like stuff that's going to shape the sound and make it sound more warm. Only because everything I'm putting into it is pure chaos anyway, and I don't want any warmth on it. And if I'm going to add something to it, it is a absolute choice. Um, the Depending on what Behringer mixer you're using, there could be a very big difference. If it's using the Midas technology and the Midas sound, you're fine because that stuff sounds really very good. When you're getting into larger stuff, the noise floor is going to be a bit lower. The high end response is going to be better. The low end response is going to be better because better components due to electrical physics are going to yield a better sound. And then it gets into the whole transistor versus tube versus whatever, which is outside my pay grade a bit. I will usually use what's on the desk already. So in my case, I use Yamaha stuff, which is super boring, does nothing to the sound, but that's exactly what I want because I'm gonna fuck with that shit later. Or it's already fucked up. Sorry that didn't help. And also when I run through the stuff through the modular, I'm gonna mince the shit out of it then. Brett, what do you think?
So I'm kind of like you, but where I've used preamps has been more live performance kind of stuff, powering, getting stuff up to levels where the PA systems will do a good job. The other place I've used it is in overdriving things to where you bring the level up, you essentially bring the level up to a point where you're going to now clip everything. There's better tools for that, I think, now. in my own opinion. You know, I'm sure someone out there, you know, is going to have that, you know, buys that, but it's really I've used either, you know, yeah, it's like I want to overdrive or distort something, and so therefore I need it to be.
You're cutting in and out again. Yeah. And it really sucks because you're saying some really cool shit here.
Man, I have your computer. Your computer issues are spreading to my house.
I know. I know. I just did an Australian no for everybody. By the way, that was free.
Give me a tip.
All right. I want to jump back to you. You're saying something interesting. Ivan, did I get a glimpse of your hand for a minute there? No glimpse of Ivan's hand. Okay. Great comments and chats, by the way. Rob's trolling everyone. Doing your country proud, Rob. Clean is the way to go. I totally agree with you, Adapt. You can always color a signal after you've yeah, totally. Yes. Yeah, totally. I say clean, but some people don't. Some people love adding some warmth to it. And actually, look, man, I had this fucking Behringer DI thing a million years ago, and I loved it. And it had a little tube built into it. It was made out of metal too, and I ran everything through that and warmed up everything. But like I was saying before, the issue you've got is that as you get older, you realize and you do more mixes, you realize that distortion's great, but only in certain places because it can become detriment. If you distort the shit out of your kick drum, awesome, and then distort the shit out of your bass guitar, your bass synth, awesome, you're going to end up with mush that's really difficult to tame, and that means people might not enjoy listening to it. And it might mean that you might, I mean, like that may or may not be an issue for you, but it means that you might have trouble mixing it and you just go, fuck, I hate this shit. And then that was the thing, is that like my initial hearing was like, oh my God, I fucking love this. And then I got, 4 listens into it and went, I hate this. Brett, how you going? No.
No?
Oh, you there now? I can hear you now.
Yeah, sounds like it's still cutting in and out though. Yeah. I'm not sure what's going on there. Sorry.
It's all right. Technology, man. Oh, I fucking hate technology. It stresses the shit out of me. Here we are talking about technology. With you guys, and you're all nerds. Fucking nerds. It can't be a busted chord because it's fucking bloody YouTube, fucking Bluetooth, whatever. It's Bluetube. It's tube tooth. Fuck.
Is this any better? Is this any better? Testing 1, 2.
That's a lot better.
All right.
I can hear my voice.
Yeah.
Oh, that's you.
Well.
I'm gonna mute my mic and you're gonna talk. Go.
All right. Well, this is a test. So it looks like my microphone decided to get a new mode, and one of those was noise removal. And well, that's awesome. So if I'm sounding better now, you did share your computer issues with me. Oh, yeah, I forgot where I was going, but at least I fixed this problem.
Excellent. So, the great thing about working for a theater company, like in a theater, is that you also work with theater techs, who are a very random group of people. And I've been talking because the theater's haunted, and I've been wanting to do a Halloween walkthrough for like years, and it came back like this week. Oh, we can't do it because issues, insurance and shit. And I said, because they do this thing where they every Halloween they'll show some horror movies in the theater, and those horror movies were shot in the theater, like Addams Family and them. They shot them at this theater, and the others and all that shit. And so I said, why don't we all? Because everybody's got a little experience that's happened there. And I said, we should all make a little video and play it. They've got photos of the fucking ghost. They have got security photos of the theater, and there is somebody like this misty person in a 5 rows back, dead center, who was just sitting there, and that ghost is called the Observer. And the funny thing we figured out in the audio department is that the ghost is sitting in the best room in the house. It's the best sounding seat. Fuck. People have seen chairs move. Like, it's crazy. But I used to work in a place in Chicago called the Athenaeum, and it was poltergeist level haunted. Like, it was fucking haunted. So there was this room under the stairs. Haven't I even told you this story? There was under the stairs, because it was Chicago, so it's just cold as fuck. The brick room under the stairs is where the audio was, and it was this dark, dingy, terrifying fucking room with the lights on in the middle of the summer. But in winter, it was scary. Like, it was fucking scary. And there was there's 2 rooms, the front room and then the back room. And the back room light, of course, never worked. But that's where we kept all the audio cables. And even the main audio guy there, who was this really fucking gruff Chicago guy, he wasn't afraid of any of this shit. I remember one day I came in and he was like freaked out. And I said, "What happened?" And he goes, "I was in here last night. I was too freaked out to go into the brick room to put the cable back. So I stood at the door because the lights weren't working, and I threw the cables in. I walked 3 steps away and the cables came back out. And nobody was in the house. We did this thing where the last person had to shut the doors, knock 3 times, and say, "Good night, ghosts." And so many times you shut the back, the artist entrance, the back door to the theater, knock 3 times, say "Good night, ghosts." You take a few steps away from the door, and someone would knock back. And it was like, get me the fuck out of here. And yeah, there was crazy shit. But anyway, so I want to do that. But anyway, they did this theater text. They're fucking weird. Great people, totally bonkers. And like, they're theater techs because there's nothing else in the world that they can do. They're basically modern pirates. Modern pirates. There's your new band name. So of course, in the middle of the show, the techs are handing out this fucking character test. And it's the biggest pain in the ass I've ever seen in my life. And they go, "We want you to do the character test because we want to see what you are." I went, "Fuck off." So it made me so mad. And it said I was an alpha. There's no way I'm an alpha. Anyway, I don't care, which is such an alpha thing to say. I don't care because I'm better than that. Pile of shit. Anyway, so we've talked about ghosts. We've talked about shit. We've talked about synthesizers. Is anybody excited about new synthesizers? Because it's something that... Is anybody grappling with a song?
Like I said, I am still grappling with the ones that I'm building.
Hold on,
and,
synthesizers or songs?
well, the synthesizers. Yeah, the 2 that I'm building here are, well, the Amy board actually. The only reason it's complicated, I guess, is I've made it overly complicated. So if I just wanted to emulate Juno and emulate DX7, I've already got that nailed down. It's working great. However, I added a 3rd task to it, which is to create a hybrid of the Juno and the DX7, where either you can drive the DX7 algorithms with the analog engine of the Juno, or vice versa, or some blend of the 2. And that's where I'm at, really, on that whole front. And that is, I mean, it's a self-inflicted wound. I can't really complain, and I'm having fun. But it gets very nerdy very quickly, and it's a lot of computer speak because I'm having to use things like AI programming tools and programming environments. All of that's a little bit new to me. And but it's pretty fun, and that's where I was kind of going to touch on noise a little bit, because the Tulip doesn't want to be either of those. It is something else, and I've kind of just rolled the dice, and I'm like, hey, I don't have an idea. What does the hardware support? And what can be done to make it an instrument. And it's very noisy, and I don't know that I dislike that. But there becomes a thing where sometimes, that underlying noise is too much. It's just too staticky. But it's still tonal. So I don't know. That it's kind of a weird concept. Where does one draw the line? I guess. As an instrument, not necessarily just as a song, but as an instrument. What is too much noise? What is too much grit? I don't know. Very subjective, but that's kind of where my head's at.
That's fantastic, man. Because as we've talked about here before, it's the noise, the grit, and the unexpecteds that can sometimes yield really fantastic things. And yeah, really, really wonderful things. And trying to get that right. And isn't it interesting how increasingly on synthesizers there is the grit knob? Where they're introducing that, where they're either dropping the bandwidth or they're dropping the fucking sample rate or they're increasing noise, whatever it is they're doing. Fantastic. That's very interesting.
Well, I mean, even to Rezi's delight on this one, the differences between the K2000 and the PC4, is the K2000 is older technology. It's a bit more buzzy. The PC4 is extremely polished. I like the combination of the two, but I don't know that I would trade either for the either. I don't know. It's just kind of a thing, Maybe I mean, has anyone ever taken a straight up noise engine as its own thing and done anything other than make snare drums with it?
Yes. Actually, are you familiar with the Atari Punk console?
A little bit more in concept than.
So they're taking the idea of actually, I'm going to mute your mic because I'm bouncing back. Thanks. And just demute yourself when you want to talk. So these things are they're DIY kits. You can also get them as modular. You can get them as boxes, and they're basically super shitty. I think they're 4-bit synthesizers. They're trying to be a Commodore 64 SID chip, but they're not. They're based on a similar thing to the Atari, a really shitty Atari thing that's going on. And they're fucking great. And they're squealing, nasty, shitty things, and they sound so good. And you can, they beautifully track pitch, and they're a very usable synthesizer. And there was something else, but I have now forgotten what that was. What was the question again?
It sounds like what Rob is working on.
I think
one of his projects. Yeah, it was more about noise as its own thing.
Oh yeah,
being something, being a something musical versus just a snare drum.
Here we go, if I can. So what you can do is noise. Step 1, noise. Step 2, you can distort the shit out of that noise if you want. Always a good step. Step 3, we're going to add a bandpass filter, a really tight, sharp bandpass filter, and that's going to track the pitch. So what's happening now is as you play the noise, as you play your keyboard, the frequency of the bandpass, that spike it's letting through and it's not letting through anything else, is going to be moving with the notes. So you will hear what sounds like it's playing something. Next, you could do something else where you could use a low pass. Same thing where the low pass is tracking the note. Then you add a really huge emphasis Q resonance to it. And that's going to resonate that thing. Okay, great fun. Another thing you can do is you can combine these things with putting it through a VCA, a voltage control oscillator, amplifier, and putting either a square wave on off, or a sawtooth ramp. Slow decay, slow decay, slow decay. And that is playing at the speed of the note. So if you hit A, it's opening and closing that volume 440 times a second. So as a result, it sounds like the noise is fluttering at that. Now, the curious thing about this, and then you can combine that with the idea of the bandpass filter that I was talking about before, that's thing. So the really interesting thing about this is that if you use a sawtooth, our beloved sawtooth, instead of it being a really nice sawtooth like that, it's like this, say, shaped as a sawtooth at 440 rate or whatever note it is you're playing. It's messy. Then you might want to distort it after you've done that because it's going to mash everything together. It is messy, and you might want to be using it with something else, but it's going to add something fucking nuts to it. But wait, there's more. You might say, well, I'm not going to run that into the as a sound itself, but I'm going to take that source, that bubbly, crazy source that's being tracked with the notes I play. I'm going to put that into a filter. Meanwhile, I've got this bass going in that filter, like a beautifully defined fat bass going into it. And this is modulating the filter there as well. So that modulation speed, twill on the modulation, modulated with noise, is modulating the bass an octave or two higher. So you end up with this really fascinating harmonic. In fact, using noise to modulate oscillators a little bit or filters a lot brings great sound. And you need to be using a modular for this or an analog idea for this because it's going to make the filter sound more vintage, more archaic, more fat. Shoot.
Is that kind of like vocoding a bass, kind of?
Kind of, no, not really. What you're doing is you basically, so your bass, let's just say your bass is down here at 50 cycles or 100 cycles. I don't know what note that is. Or 80 cycles. So it's kind of an E, 81 cycles. Here's your bass. So you've got a filter on top of it, right? So you're filtering out all the half stuff. So you got this big fat bass, boom, fat dull bass. 80 cycles. So an octave above it is 160. Octave above that is 320. So we're going to add that another note that is opening and closing the filter only by a small amount, 20, 30%, 2 octaves above it. And it's going to create to your ears a harmonic. And this is where you can really fuck shit up, is that not only is it playing the note, but you might assign to your wheel or something that when you wheel up, it's just going to go up. So it's going to start screaming into these higher frequencies. And it's such a great trick. And then you can do that trick in reverse where you might have the bass at 160 or something. And then you set up another note that's at 80, 1 octave below, or 42 octaves below. It's also a really sharp sawtooth, and it's opening and closing the filter at that rate. And that's going to make you think that there's another oscillator way the fuck down there. But in actual fact, there's not. And it's, if you want to get like really fat analog crunch, that fart, that's how you do it. So the trick is you have another oscillator that is either above, below, or both that is also resonating the filter. So it's opening and closing the filter by a tiny amount just to add a shimmer to it, either above it or below it. Oh, yeah.
You know I'm going to lab that, right?
Yeah, do it. Do it. You can kind of do this shit on the K2000 by using the sawtooth, the wave shaping sawtooth option in one of the algorithms, and you set that to be an octave above, 2 octaves above, or an octave or 2 octaves below, and it will make it sound like there's another sawtooth in there. But even more fun on the K2000, get a vocal sample or a drum sample and add it to that and it will make the drums or the vocals sound like there is a ring modulated, but not, definitely not a harmonic going on. Yeah. And you get into some really interesting territory. Alex, what are you thinking?
So the thing I use most often is to use noise as a modulation source. If you add it to pitch, it will add kind of colored noise to the whole signal. Filter also something similar. If the synthesizer allows it, you can modulate the modulation intensity itself with an envelope. So you can maybe use it at the beginning to get like a attack kind of thing, where you have like something like if a string is being plucked or something, or you can blend it in with within the duration of the sound. If it's maybe a pad sound, you can get like some crunchiness starting with it. And if you are with an modular synthesizer, you can also put a low pass filter on the noise if you modulate other parameters, and you will get something similar to a random LFO.
Thank you. You know what? This brings up another really great thing that I need to do more, and that is to be using pitch modulation, a pitch envelope on the actual oscillators themselves, on the VCOs or DCOs. So you've got a pew, you've got a little, you got a little envelope that's shaped like that, and it's got to be super quick, like. And you might stick that at the front of the oscillator. So that's controlling the oscillator. So the oscillator is going to go pew, like a little pew pew or a kick drum. But the thing about it is that it's velocity sensitive. So the harder you strike it, the more of this it's adding to it. Because when you hit a guitar harder, because you're stretching the string, just you're changing the pitch, and it's this really short, like a milliseconds short. And if you add that to synth sound, it adds beautiful shine to things. That's all I got.
That's pretty darn good. I took notes on that one.
Cool. Yeah, good fun. Good damn fun. And you can obviously do that on the K2000 as well. The trick is velocity sensitive. So if you hit it really gently, it doesn't have any. And if you hit it harder, you can hear it coming in. Shorter the better. And actually one other thing I did was I had a pad sound that when you let go of the pads, that pads would just fall down. And that was controlled by the mod wheel. So the mod wheel also brought up the it made one of the oscillators start drifting a little more, LFOing really slowly, but just a tiny bit more. It brought up the filters, like it opened the filters more, and the more up it was, as you let go, they go, and they just fall away. Fantastic thing to use. I never use pitch, man. Don't know why. Alex, what do you think?
I forgot to mention with percussive kind of sounds, I use it also with a short envelope as a direct transient, not through modulation, but directly in the signal at the beginning of a sound duct.
Mm. One thing that bugs me about the Emacs is you can't. I'm pretty sure you can't. No, you can't. There's a dedicated amplifier envelope and a dedicated filter, but there's no pitch. Is there a pitch? Pretty sure there's no pitch. I've never used it. Yeah, but you can work around that though. There's workarounds. Okay, we're doing good. Does anybody want to jump in about anything else? Does anybody got gear horn or anything? Dude, it's a quiet Sunday. I don't think we're caffeinated enough.
Man, I've just been over on the programming side of things so much the last month that it's like working toward music. What you got, Alex?
It's a carbonated mate tea. I
Show
don't
me.
know how to pronounce it in English, but
Oh, damn it, Alex, I accidentally muted you.
it's a carbonated tea from the, I don't know how to call it in English or how to pronounce it. Mate tea
Club
Dude,
mate.
from South America, and it's basically sugary tea from that plant with carbonation.
Alex, you are such a man of leisure and style. I really like, maybe it's because like when we do this, you're at the end of the day and it's like, fuck it, I'm having a pizza or a beer. And like here it's like fucking 10:30 in the morning. But you're such a man of mystery. Like, what was the thing? Don't fear the fire, don't fear the trees. I am the, what was that? What was that quote?
I feel weird quoting myself, but
Quote yourself, damn it. I was into
I'm
it.
not the monster in the forest, I am the forest.
That's great, man. That's fucking great. That is such a great thing. You better do something with that. I swear. That is so good, dude. That is such a good I've written down quite a few of your chords here. That's such a great. Yeah, no, that's more than just the ESD. It's a great lyric, but that's also the, that's the band. Because Jekyll Switch used to have the its call sign was sinister industrial cyberpunk. And but that, Alex, that's beautiful, man. Okay, what's going on besides Alex drinking tea? I just bought a Turkish coffee maker, by the way. Oh, fuck, it's good. And my
I saw
plants
you
love
making that.
Yeah, yeah. My plants love it because I give them the dregs, and because it's like super fine coffee dregs, they're very happy plants. Very fucking happy plants. Synthesizers, anyone? Let's go. What's going on? Come on.
It's not synthesizers, but I bought a full-on computer. I am to start building essentially something equivalent to a Jarvis.
What's Jarvis? Oh, you mean the X-Men thing?
Iron Man, yeah, the whole AI system he had that helps with every damn thing. Yeah, it's I'm trying to build a house bot.
Dude, that's very exciting. That's really exciting. Anybody else, or are we open to baking and butter chicken? Fuck yeah, I'll do some of that. I'm getting deeper and deeper into the whole philosophy of, music as a religion. And this, one reason I'm so, unless anybody wants to tell me to shut the fuck up, the, I'm really grateful for these gigs that I get through this theater because like there was I may have told you about the Pentecostal church that went in there, a Pentecostal Christian church, and there was a thing they did, the pentatonic wash, the beginnings of singing, the beginnings of testimony, the beginnings of dancing, bringing people up and up and up into a heightened spiritual experience. And I'm not going to use words like hype because I'm not going to downplay anyone's spiritual experience. And then there was a similar Jewish thing they did, the pentatonic wash. You know what I mean by the pentatonic wash? Basically, you're just playing the black notes and everyone's jamming around on those black notes, or the minor pentatonic or the major pentatonic scale. Pentatonic wash, building, singing, testifying, building to heighten the spiritual experience. Then we did a jazz show with then there was this Islamic show. It was a pentatonic wash. It was a pentatonic wash. And then what was being played over the top of it definitely was not pentatonic. It was all of this other stuff, but they're jamming their chords, although they were incredibly well rehearsed. Where these other guys were just jamming and filling it out, and they were brilliant. But it was the pentatonic wash. It was the building of the experience, da 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 da. And in Indian traditional music and in raga music, the pentatonic wash, the building of the experience, the increased dancing, the trance dancing, the building of this experience. And then a few years ago they had Miles Davis flutes player in there. This guy was like late 80s, fucking incredible, man. He was Yoda. This guy was fucking Yoda. Miles Davis's flute player. And he ruled the band. They were the best jazz musicians in Los Angeles, and they were terrified of this guy. They were terrified. Pentatonic wash. Everyone's jamming. Does this sound familiar to a heightened spiritual experience? And it was. And I was just, it's really fascinating watching this, and I'm not going to, it is not my desire in this. I have ultimate respect for the spiritual experience, and I will say that it seems to be, music is the key to hack the soul and to hack enlightenment. It is the portal to God. In fact, I think music is God, but it's such a fascinating thing. And the more I go down this, and the more I use Ice Planet 9000 as a way to experience this, and Angelspit's a way to set cars on fire and to riot. I didn't say that. So I'm told. But Ice Planet 9000 is a really great way to experience, to explore this most yeah, D, totally agree, man. Most fantastic wonder, because there is something mind-blowing inside the human spirit that only music can unlock. And it does have a terrifying side as well, which is another area of fascination that I will not talk about here for me. An area that I've been quite enthralled with my whole life, as something where humanity went awfully wrong. And it's a thing that I've noticed a lot of different countries and a lot of different cultures have fallen into this trap, and music is at the core of it. It's the most fascinating thing. I think I saw did I see a hand go up? I see the Brett hand go up. Talk to me, Brett.
Some what you were talking about there, with with musicality and religion, and I don't know if anyone likes what's, if you've ever seen it. There's a show that's been on for a few years now on the History Channel, Secret of Skinwalker Ranch. And you got these people going out there and trying all these experiments, trying to figure out what kind of anomalies they have on this property. One of the most interesting of those was they brought out a Native American tribe. And the Native American tribes are the one who gave this land its name. This is something in their lore. And they started playing drums and singing. And they had thermal cameras up watching the entire property. When they started playing, rocks probably eighth of a mile, half a mile away, all of a sudden just mysteriously start heating up. They stop playing and they cool right back down. And they have been able to repeat this both with other musicians and recordings. And so, you talk about how it interfaces with whatever you want to call God. Well, you can definitely show that music not only does something for us, but it absolutely has measurable effects on things that you would not expect.
Totally. So yeah, it's really important that you make your music, because we're going through a period of time right now. I mean, like, come on, think about it. It's as if something doesn't want us to make music. Really, this is the big fucking, you want to talk about the electronic overlords and the fucking T1000 takeovers? Stop the music, man. That's how you do it. And I'm being serious right now. We always talk about tenacity and the importance of this. Music is an incredibly difficult thing to make. It's hard. It's supposed to be hard. It should be hard because life is hard. And this is a reflection of life. All life is a reflection of music. And now all of these processes are in place to make it easier. That is taking the soul, the tenacity out of it, out of the human spirit and its ability to make fucking music. What the fuck? So, yeah, I choose to use old shitty gear. I choose to do the hard thing because that's how Mozart did it. And I'm currently LA Opera's knee deep in the magic flute. You want to talk about magic in music? Like I mean magic. Magic, like Freemasonry, occult stuff. Mozart's magic flute. Oh my God. I cannot begin to talk about the importance of this opera, but Brad, I see your hand.
I forgot where I was going. I was listening to you.
So magic fucking flute. Oh my God. Um, Also the Magic Figaro. So Magic Flute was his last opera, although The Clemency of Titus may have been Mozart's last opera. There's argument, and they're both incredible, incredible operas. Horribly simple. I told you, there's a in the maestro's office at LA Opera. He's got these two books that are photocopies of the manuscript of Mozart's actual manuscript. No mistakes. The only mistakes and blottings is where the pen spewed out too much ink. That's it. Like this is, and you listen to it, like you look at it and you go, this is so simple. It's so simple. This is criminally simple. But then and same with Wagner. But then you see it in practice and you hear it and you go, wow, this is brilliant. Yeah. And then I want to talk about Disney, but Brett, what you got?
I remembered where I was going. So one of the things that I've noticed, especially in a couple of new bands that I've started listening to, is really how, yes, the technology we have now makes it a lot easier, but I am starting to see bands who are increasing that difficulty level by incorporating multiple styles of music at really fast paces, where instead of dealing with like a traditional song structure of chorus, break, verse, chorus, break, close, right? They are like, here is half of a verse. We're going to switch complete genres, jam for about 30 seconds, switch genres over to something else, do maybe a chorus, then switch back to the verse, and then the whole time they're just breaking up the overall strong song structure, not only within the genre that it was rooted in to start with, but like when I first heard it, I thought this was written with AI, and I'm like, there's no damn way this was made by humans. And then I watch 5 dudes get up on stage and play it, and they've got a saxophone player and a flute player and a freaking death metal guitarist, and at some points they sound like Red Hot Chili Peppers, other times they sound like Cradle of Filth, and then throw some bossa nova in there for good measure. So yes, I see that it is easier to make music in some sense, but I think there's still something to be said for that creative drive to say, okay, well, that just means I can add more complexity, or I can add more changes that still are interesting to the human ear and interesting to speak to the stories or whatever you're trying to tell.
Yeah, there's so much really interesting, so much interesting stuff that's happening at the moment. Hey, so can I, because we're nearly out of time, I'd like to end with a story. So another theater experience I had in the last few weeks was they did a show about animation, and they invited this guy who did it, an animation called Brother Bear. Crazy nice guy, and this man's drive is to help and encourage and educate young people who want to get into animation, but because of the university, college tuition, they can't afford it. So he sets up this 1 day, 2 day like convention. Normally, when we do these things, they're kind of scams, but this was not. This was amazing. And I was talking to one of the people who worked in the theater, and they were saying they were studying animation at UCLA, and they were saying in the first 3 hours of this lecture, these guys dumped about a year, 12 months worth of meat that you'd get from, a college degree. They had on stage the royalty from Disney. Like these guys wrote Hunchback of Notre Dame. They worked on, one of the guys, when he was very young, worked on Pinocchio. Yeah, they had, and it was, and like these guys were the who's who, and like one of the guys was the lead character designer on Into the Spider-Verse and all that shit. And that guy was borderline genius, because he was like this airy-fairy guy that went on these huge rants, and then he's doing this artwork. He did this live drawing, and everyone's going, "What the fuck are you doing, man?" And then in the last minute, it just went slot, and it's like brilliant. But there was this one point where backstage, because these guys weren't used to theaters, and I had to constantly tell this like, royalty guys, can you keep it down? Because they were talking too much during the show, and it's like, you got to be quiet. There was this one point where, so this guy here, he directed Finding Nemo. That guy worked on Toy Story. That guy was one of the lead dudes on Toy Story. That guy directed Moana. That guy worked with Robin Williams on Emperor's New Groove. That guy was the head animator on this. Like, Disney was standing there, like the actual core to Disney. And it was fascinating what these guys were talking about, because all of these guys would go on the stage and they would say the same thing. One, get up at 4:30 in the morning and do push-ups on your knuckles. You are going to work on your form. You are going to get all of that stuff. Not one of them at any point said anything about listen to what the corporation says and take it into consideration. Not one of them. They said that the artistic vision is the ultimate pure thought, and you must not water it down. And there are aspects of production that will mean that you can't do what you want to do, or that it might be because the storyline might be too complicated, have to be simplified so the audience can understand the driving force of the creative idea. The fucking screenwriter for Lion King was there. One of the head animators for Lion King was there. A guy who works for Skywalker Ranch that has 700 Foley and sound design credits was there. It was like, and it's like I've worked that theater where here are 5 people who have won Oscars, and I know all of them, and that person was in Avatar, and I don't really give a shit. Here are 5 rock stars who have all won Grammys. I don't really care. But these guys were the fucking David Bowies of, and it wasn't really starstruck. It was awe, as in the creative energy of these guys. But what came out of it, and this is what's important, is that the vision that you have that's buried under all the stuff that you're supposed to do and all the postings that you have to do to keep everybody happy on your algorithm, all of that shit is bullshit. Because at the core of you, once you get through all of those lies and you get through all of that, everybody else who has no idea telling you what you're supposed to do, and unfortunately sometimes I'm going to be one of those people too, what you think in your time, that's what you have to focus on. And push-ups at 4 o'clock in the morning. That's it. All I got. Does anybody else want to throw anything else while we fucking boot this thing fuck off? Alex.
If you're into this kind of music and if you listen to Ice Planet 9000, you probably are. The new Boards of Canada album is really good.
Yeah, thanks for that. And also their whole, and it's really funny. Boards of Canada was always one of those weird underground bands that, like, come on, honestly, no one gave a fuck about. They didn't. And the people who gave a fuck about them gave a fuck about them. But now everybody is all about Boards of Canada, which I think's fantastic. Because, you know, I think it's great because it's weird as fuck. It is. It's weird. I think the world needs some weird right now. That weird. And you listen to them and you go, oh, I understand why you want a tape delay. Because that's all fucking tape delay shit right there. Yes, D's loving it too. Okay. Yeah, get inspired. Yeah, you don't have a choice. Get fucking inspired. You have to. This has been The Art of Rock. Thanks for joining us. Hopefully every Saturday we are here. We're going to try to be, I think I am. The next time I'm out is June 20, where I'm doing the roller derby gig. But we're here again next weekend. Thank you for being a part of Angelspit's Patreon. You can join that for free. And a lot of what I do is available there for free. I've just started the new Bandcamp subscription thing. You get a 10% off merch. By the way, I'm still not shipping overseas, so I'm only shipping within the USA because all of the constant bullshit with all this stuff drives me fucking nuts. So, and you also get a 10% off merch. I think that's digital as well. New Ice Planet 9000 is available. Please check it out. The Patreon supporters got a free copy. We will see you Wednesday night at Vulture Culture because it's amazing. If you're concerned about the way the USA is going and you want to do something about it, join Indivisibles. And thank you to Raziel, although he wasn't here, but he has been on the past few weeks doing this in the background for keeping it going. Today, we were joined by, hold on, I've got this because I am such a professional. Look at my professionality. We were joined by Brett, Ivan, Alex. Brett, Ivan, Alex. And Diana and Adam Bob were in the chats. Also, what else am I supposed to talk about? We are now going to raid over to MTV TV. Boom. And I absolutely, so Diana, if we could get that raid going. I absolutely promise that your new favorite band is waiting for you there. I need to make a video. There's another conversation. Are we raiding? Have we raided? What's going on? I could raid. Do I remember how to raid? Is Diana in the chat? I didn't see her in the chat. Somebody cover my butt. Talk. While I'm setting up this raid.
Zippity-doo-dah.
Yeah, so if you get a chance, watch bloody Pinocchio, because it's terrifying. God, I hate fucking so badly. I go away. There's so much shit here. There we go. We're rating, I think. So much technology, and it never works. Anyway, so we're going to MTV. That's where we're going, raid or not, because I'm just so done with waiting on technology. Really, I am. Go away. Fuck off and die. Yeah, we're going to MTV. I think that's rating. I have no idea. Is it rating? Raid now, for the love of fuck.
There, it just did.
I hate the internet. Bye. See you next week.